Much better mood here on the TexAgs postgame wrap, brought to you by Alpha Paving. A&M beats McNeese State 52-10. David Nuño, Brandon Leone, and Chris Harrington here. And as I mentioned, Alpha Paving is the ones who bring it to us. Brandon, you know them quite well. You want to tell the people a little bit about Alpha Paving?
Oh, man, we're just a concrete and asphalt paving company across the state. We got 3 divisions. We do tons of projects with retail, multifamily, industrial, a lot of shopping centers, schools, hospitals. But you know, if you have any upcoming paving needs, whether it's maintenance projects, new construction, obviously we'd love to get an opportunity, especially with Aggies. Aggies love doing business with Aggies. It's always fun. So appreciate you having us, letting us be a part of it.
Better mood for me, Chris. Better mood for you. I mean, even though it is McNeese State.
I mean, to see Connor come out and do what he did, to see our offensive line again, another dominant performance. Beautiful day, great weather for a football game. So defense looked solid across the board. To get to see a lot of guys that we didn't get to see last week, that was exciting to see some of the younger talent. So
one of the things that I liked about today, and you know, this is going to be one of the shorter post-game wraps because there's not a lot you can read in this McNeese State game. But one thing that I did see was that I have 2 thoughts on Connor. First thought was he was 5 for 5 scoring touchdowns. On every drive he played in, he scored a touchdown.
100%.
The first drive he didn't play in, where Marcel Reed came in, they kicked the field goal. So they were 6 of 6 to start off the game. So offensively, I thought that he was efficient. I thought in the first few minutes he missed a couple of reads where he could have had a throw, but he held the ball a little bit too long. But then he finished the second quarter with 7 straight completions. Chris, start us off on what you saw from Connor.
Yeah, I mean, the ability to like move, you know, out of the pocket. You know, he's got like guys are covered downfield and he takes off. I saw a juke. I saw a spin move. He looked athletic. He looked comfortable. His feet looked good. That was some of the stuff that we didn't see last week, but feet looked good. He was setting them, making good throws. And surprises, we had quite a few drops from the receiver core, tight ends. I think I counted like 5 or 6 that should have been completions that weren't. So.
What'd you make of Connor's performance?
Well, I think he looked like Connor as far as the ball placement was where it needed to be this week. Even in the beginning, he was a little high on one of Noah's catches to the field, but he was tight. His spirals were tight. Like Chris said, his mobility, like he didn't look – last week he looked hesitant. He looked a little fearful at times and almost a little lost in the spotlight during the headlights type thing, but he didn't look like that today. He looked confident. I do agree with you. I think he missed a couple reads, but – you know, to Connor's credit, this is my I'm not trying to turn it negative, but this was kind of my thing that I'm still thinking. I know it's McNeese State. You're trying to stay vanilla probably heading into SEC play, but man, our route trees, man, we're running 3 hitches, you know, in a row, and it's like just get creative. And when we finally threw a corner route to the end zone, Connor put it right to Noah. I feel like we need to stretch the field more and be a little bit more creative with our route schemes and our route trees. But that being said, you know, we know this from playing non-conference opponents where it's not a huge game. A lot of times you keep it vanilla. You get a lot of reps for everybody. And especially when you take a hard loss like last week where just in the whole country's being negative, for a lot of people to see the field today, for a lot of people to feel good about it. You see the turnovers. They're running downfield. They're celebrating together. You need to get that confidence back as you head into a road game that's an SEC game. So it's good to see that. Like, that's what these games are good for the locker room, for just the mood and the culture. I was excited to see a big win for everybody today.
Vanilla or not, they put up 529 yards of total offense.
Absolutely.
With Connor only playing basically a quarter and a half.
100%.
So that part I did like. What'd you think of Marcel Reed? You want to start us off, Brandon?
Thought he was good. I think his first play, he came in and had almost like a 10-yard run. I mean, you can see it's almost like
he throws some darts, doesn't he?
He throws some darts, but he had a few throws that he missed. There was the end zone where we went for it on 4th down. I felt like he put the ball where it needed to. The guy didn't catch it. But again, you could tell his nerves were high as well. But he does bring a little bit different of athleticism, you could see, as far as running the football. And with Connor or Colin Klein's history, I mean, I know he loves that guy that can do that. But again, going back to Chris's comment, seeing Connor make a spin move and break a boy's ankles in the field like that, like you can see that he has that in him, but that's not his thing. I feel like Marcel could go do that all day, but he doesn't have, I don't know if he has the arm talent or the accuracy yet that Connor does. And so
he throws a dart as in like Zach Calzada fastball,
it. Yeah,
right?
He's throwing it 2
but
yards.
He doesn't have the accuracy yet that we've seen.
He's young, but it was good to see him get some reps because, you know, Connor looked like old Connor today. But if we just, the whole beauty of a game like this as you head into the season is if Connor doesn't look like that more and he looks more like he did against Notre Dame, you really need to have someone that's had some reps in the season that you're confident putting out there as SEC play approaches. So I'm glad Marcel got to play, but I felt good about Connor's performance.
Chris, one thing that I saw from Le'Veon Moss, he ran very well and didn't have to play very much, but he followed his blockers a little bit better. Was that evident from the stands?
Yeah, I mean, he looked good. Had some big runs consistent. I think he like almost 100 yards again. So he's stacking them up. Very impressive. But wide lanes, I mean, the offensive line was very dominant, especially number 55, Reed Adams.
Yes.
He was nasty. He was like finishing blocks downfield. It was really great to see. I mean, I was sitting with Kirk Elder, and he's like so excited about this offensive line. To see Coley in there from the start, the get-go, seeing the offensive line be together for 3 quarters. I was surprised when they kept them on in the second half, but they need those reps. They need that time together, to fill each other out. And I feel like they did a phenomenal job up front.
I was happy to see TJ Shanahan. I think he came in the second quarter for a little bit at center because he's going to need some reps there. He's probably going to be your main backup now because of the injury to Mark Naboo. So it's good to see that. Defensively, I got one complaint and only one complaint. Okay, and people are going to get mad at me. I want to see some sacks. I'm waiting for the first sack this year, but it wasn't meant to be.
Man, yeah, I agree. I think it's just, even though we didn't have sacks, I still feel like we forced
There was pressure.
Yeah, there was pressure, but we do need to get to the quarterback. I mean, those are such game-changing plays when you can get a sack or a tackle for a loss or even a forced fumble coming. Chris specialized in that, man, like coming off the backside, hitting the quarterback. I mean, we need to.
Well, that did force one of the turnovers today.
Yeah, no,
so it would have been a sack, but it was
sure.
a pick.
But my thing is, like, we've got to get the offense on the other side behind the chains. We got to get a quarterback out of his rhythm, and you need to have a defensive lineman that can create pressure. And like I said, we created pressure and we pushed guys back, but we got to beat blocks. We got to win one-on-one matchups. Right. And, again, Chris can speak to that because he did it all the time when we were here together. But we got to create some negative plays for the offense besides just a couple picks. Get behind the chains, put the pressure on the offensive coordinator. You need that so much as you head into these conference plays. So that I agree with you. That was one of my things, was a little bit concerned that we're still not getting as many sacks as we all thought we would with the guys we have up front.
But Chris, that could just be because they're not sending the house out there. And also these offenses know that that's what A&M's strength is, right?
Yeah. Well, this defense is designed. I mean, you look at the defensive linemen, they're in 4-point stances. Mm-hmm. Their objective is to tie up blockers, to free up linebackers to come through, to free up, blitzing corners and safeties. So it's just the way the defense is styled. And I think the way the game went about, I think McNeese was, trying to keep the clock going, running the ball more. There wasn't a lot of, drop back pass again, second week. But guys like Cassius Howell they got to step up when it's third down and big play. They need to get through there. And he got close, I think, once or twice, but didn't finish it. So,
and also forcing a couple turnovers. I mean, again, every time I say these comments, I have to put a qualifier. It's McNeese. I know it's McNeese, but we wanted to see it, and we saw some of it.
Well, I mean, Elko said it in the press conference. I mean, these type of games, doesn't matter if it's McNeese, whoever it is, you got to play to your standard. And we still want to be a defense that creates turnovers. We still want to be a team that wins the turnover battle week in and week out. Again, the fact that we were in the ball game last week, despite Connor not having his best game, obviously we've talked about that, despite being down 2-0 in the turnover battle, we're still playing for a chance to be the top 10 team. So this following week, now you're up on the turnover battle, and so that's going to be so critical, man. The battle hitting yardage I always talk about with special teams and flipping the field, even if you have to punt, winning the turnover battle. The other thing about today is you created 2 more opportunities for that offense to get better, to get more used to Colin Klein's system, to maybe get Marcel in there. And so, yeah, it was great that we had those turnovers, but I'm hoping that we can create more with our guys on the front in the future as we head into conference play.
Noah Thomas getting a touchdown. That play, back shoulder for the touchdown. The throw was perfect. The route was perfect. It's good to see Noah getting some opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, just as a whole receiving core, they've got to do a better job supporting Connor. He makes a perfect throw. They're open. You got 5 drop passes. Like, those are great opportunities that we lost again. So got to continue to improve, but excited to see, offense scoring points and doing their thing.
A&M had 314 yards of offense by halftime. Remember, this was with Connor leaving midway through the second quarter because it was time for Marcel to play. They also outgained them, was it 20 first downs to their 2. So bottom line, this could have been 100-0.
Absolutely. And they pulled off. Lots of guys got lots of reps. Shout out to the 12th man, full 12th man kickoff team. That was always fun for us to see. But when that's happening, that means that you're doing what you're supposed to do. And so one of the things that Zane told me, we were just out there watching Oklahoma State, Arkansas. A lot of people, I guess, were talking trash on Twitter, TexAgs about the quality of the opponent. But he said this was a stat that I thought was pretty impressive. Jimbo in his entire tenure scored 52 points only 4 times and only once against a Power 5 team. And so regardless of if it's McNeese or who it is, the fact that our offense is executing, that Connor's developing confidence, like he said, that they kept a consistent unit with the offensive line, which is huge as you head into the meat of the schedule. It was a good day. It was a good day. I don't remember any big injuries, but we stayed healthy. We executed. The guys were having a great time. The confidence is back, and we need to get ready to go win on the road for the first time in I don't know how long.
So the people complaining about that, what do you want us to do? Not talk about the game? Like, seriously, like,
I know.
what do you want us to do? Like, look, we're not putting a banner up that A&M beat McNeese State 52-10. It's not about the banner. It's about moving on from what was a rough, and not even rough, an opportunity to beat a top 10 team that you let slip through your finger because your offense couldn't do it. This week, you wanted to just be on the same page, get some mental confidence for your quarterback, and just to see things working in the right direction, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, to see Bussy
that 65-yard touchdown,
get the ball in that guy's hands. He's exciting. I think Cyrus Allen was the top receiver in the game. I think I saw that. Marcel Reed, I think, clearly he's the second quarterback.
Yeah. Yep.
And clearly there's a gap between him and Connor.
Well, another guy that I was really impressed with, Amari Daniels. I'm always impressed with Amari because I feel like he's one of the forgotten players on the team.
He gets it
quiet, but he has some tough runs, man. He had that one run. It looked like they were going to stop it, and he just kept it going. I'm going to give you some stats here. So Amari Daniels, 12 rushes, 75 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. Le'Veon Moss, 9 carries, 84 yards, 2 touchdowns. You know about the Terry Bussey play, 1 carry, 65 yards. As a whole, they rushed for 333 yards.
Which is huge, man. Again, I always looked at it like if we held a team to less than 150 yards, 200 yards rushing, and we outgained them there, and that's usually a stat that you can feel confident because you're eating up the clock, you're wearing the defensive front down. If they don't have a lot of depth, they're getting tired, they're getting frustrated. So the fact that we ran for that many yards, again, my whole thing for this season was our offensive line. They're going to feel really good as they head in to watch film tomorrow and start to break down Florida. So it's exciting to see them execute that well on the ground game. And I love that you were with Kirk and y'all were geeking out because we were thinking the same thing, man. Like the lanes were there for the backs. 55 stood out multiple times. He looks tough. One-on-one, zone, whatever he was doing, I could see why y'all talked about him so much. You could see his potential. I think he's a next level guy for sure.
So Bo mentions Will Lee. That guy, just watching him play, it's not just because of the interception, but just watching him play, he's a player.
Will Lee, Dalton Brooks, Marcus Ratliff. I have those 3 names on my notes. I think we should be extremely excited about those guys and their potential. We were sitting with Murph watching the game. Ratliff puts on another 10 pounds, and he's back there looking like a Sean Taylor build, a 6'3", however tall he is. But just to see guys come downhill with intensity and attack the line of scrimmage as a safety, like Chris said, I mean, this defense is a little bit different than Elko's because it's got Bateman's spin on it, but those guys are coming downhill, and if a crease opens up for them, you can have confidence that they're not, sweet-footing around as they get to the line of scrimmage. They're coming downhill to hit, and Will Lee plays aggressive on the outside too. So it's exciting to see that in our secondary.
Chris, so this week is about Florida, right? Like you feel good to a point, but you got to beat a quality opponent, regardless of what you think of what Florida's going to do this year. That is a quality SEC program and hard to place to win. So when you think about this matchup, and I guess the probability that DJ Lagway will start that game, we don't know. But if the concussion protocol continues on for Mertz, then he will probably be the starting quarterback. What are some thoughts heading into this Florida game?
I know nothing about Florida. I've not watched them play this season.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah. But our defense is like 2 games in a row been very consistent. We know we've got the talent. We know we've got depth, secondary depth, linebacker depth. I was really excited. Lockhart had a great game. Mm-hmm. Like he looks like a stud, and that's a freshman, right? Yep. High school freshman. So I saw Trey Jones come downhill, nice fill, just right in his face. DeShields had a sack. We did have a sack, I believe.
Oh, they did count the sack.
I don't know if they did or not on the stats, but that's what I had in my notes.
Okay.
So just to see the depth after watching last week's game, to see consistency.
No sacks.
No sacks.
Okay.
Yeah. I had it on there. Maybe it was a tackle for loss.
Rolled out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they just got to keep doing what they do. You know, stay healthy. You know, play in the system. I saw that we lost edge. I saw Scorton duck under one time on an outside run. You just can't do that.
Right.
You know, ended up being a 20-yard run, something like that. And it's just simple contain. You just got to set edges. You know, you can't take the shortcut and, you know, inside door it. But
thoughts about heading into the Florida game?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm with Chris. I'm not really concerned about the defense yet. Lagway makes me a little bit nervous because the dual threat aspect, but he's so young. If we get to him early or you know, how we do stuff in coverage to confuse him, I'm more concerned about our offense. I love that the unit on the offensive line was together for 3 quarters. Like, we really need to be able to communicate well at the line of scrimmage, not have false start penalties, you know, make sure we're getting protection in the right places to protect Connor. And for him to be confident on the road where it's going to be loud and it's going to be similar to how this was for Notre Dame, give Connor that confidence that he can go through his progressions and be a quarterback. Give Le'Veon Moss and Amari Daniels the opportunity, you know, to have space to run, and E.J. Smith if he's in there. But, you know, it's funny you talk about the guys being negative about the game this week. You know, I want you to imagine that you're an 18 to 22-year-old kid. You sit on your phone all day long, and everything that you see about you is negative. Like, everything you see from anybody that's not a family member or a close friend, everybody's perspective about you is, oh, we are who they thought they were. They're not good. Dennis Green, we are who they thought they were. You're going into
Showing
practice.
your age, man.
I know I am. 40 next week, bro. You're sitting there as a kid. You're trying to be a student athlete. You're trying to study the game. You're trying to be confident heading into a week. And the fans are dumping on you. You're feeling hard on yourself. You're trying to get better, be mentally tough, overcome adversity. And then the fans will be like, it's McNeese State. It's trash. Well, imagine you're 19 and you got cooked last week and you had a bad week and you're feeling down on yourself, and you come out here today and you have a great game.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I think more people are positive, but I think they just don't want to read too much into McNeese.
No, as they shouldn't.
And we're not.
But imagine that you're one of these student athletes.
Right.
So think about, like, we're all like, oh, it's no big deal. Show us what you could do in conference play. 100%, that's true. But those kids are heading into this next week with a different mentality. The confidence will be there.
Yep.
There'll still be some people being negative on Twitter, and you got to learn how to tune out the noise.
Very hard.
But as a former player, and I know Chris, you know, agrees with this, it's so exciting to see these young men be able to build confidence. Because at the end of the day, football is not forever. You know, we want them to go win and be 11-1, but I want them to be confident young men that can head out into the week and feel good about themselves, and that we're championing them as a program. So whether it's McNeese, whether it's Notre Dame, whether it's Florida, a big win like this is huge for the locker room and for each individual person that got to play today. I mean, think about the dudes on 12-man kickoff team. Don't you know they got 155 text messages today that they got to run down? Yes, bro. And just think about your energy in practice next week, your attention to detail in the playbook. Like, everything changes when everyone's getting a piece of the pie and having a chance to have fun. And today was a fun day, beautiful day, and I'm excited to see what they can do next week.
I think the bottom line before we drop the show here is we're not going to read too much into a game against McNeese. We never were going to, all right? But we just wanted to see some things cleaned up. And I think we saw a couple things that were cleaned up. We saw Connor's feet. Now, I want to see what it looks like when the game is sped up, right? That's something I want to see. Le'Veon, who I thought ran well last week, I thought he followed his blockers better this week. That is something I wanted to see. So, like, regardless of the caliber of opponent, the skill is the skill, and the task is the task. And they went and they did some things to clean up. Now they got a bigger test next week in Gainesville, Chris.
Yeah, you can't – you might only get a few of those opportunities for those receivers to be open and the ball to be right there. You have to capitalize on that. We can't let those drops happen again. That's my biggest thing. My biggest critique is, like, when you get the ball in your hands, you got to finish the play. You got to catch it. But like Brandon said, you know, we're so talented through our 2 deep and into our 3 deep. To get those guys game reps is so important, to keep them engaged, to have something to work on and watch, you know, in post game as they're going through the film. But to see the guys, like, you know, they get excited, they celebrate them because they've gone through camp just like everybody else. And a lot of those guys were 4-star guys or 5-star guys. They might have been a freshman in high school. You know, we brought somebody in through the portal that might have jumped ahead of them, you know, during training camp. But to get them reps, because someone's going to get hurt, someone's going to need to play, you know. So this was a great game, great win, you know, great team building to get some momentum going into Florida.
100%.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for our post-game wrap, brought to you by Alpha Paving. Texas A&M will take on Florida next week in Gainesville. I'll do the show from there. We'll catch up with you guys on the Luchador podcast tomorrow and, of course, on TexAgs Live on Monday morning. Thanks so much for watching.